It's an interesting hypothetical, Natasha, and the silence almost underscores the power that Twitter and Facebook have. Certainly, President Trump has other avenues for getting out there, but if he was still on those platforms, I highly doubt it would feel this quiet, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a welcome calm for a lot of Americans who were frankly horrified a couple of weeks ago with the insurrection at the Capitol. And that was the most vivid illustration of what investors have been warning about: the dangers of hate speech, the promotion of violence on social media platforms. And that didn't happen overnight. We saw Trump sow disinformation about the election for a long time, and we saw hate groups start organizing over social media long before January 6th. So, Trump really became catalytic, right? If he was the match, then social media was the fuse he hit. And really, that's the problem that we see: how quickly hate and disinformation can be amplified through the social media engine. As a citizen, I'm concerned, and I'm also concerned as an investor.
So, do you think these companies should have this power?
I think it's a complicated question. I think what we have right now is absolutely not working. We've been asking the social media companies to address content governance since 2016, when it was the Russians sowing disinformation, not the American president. And here we are now, 5 years later, in the wake of a deadly insurrection. So I wish these companies had responded to shareholder concerns earlier. But we are continuing to push for change. And, when we start to think about what's going to happen with a new administration and regulation, I think the power of these companies is being questioned, no doubt. And we've been ringing the alarm bells on leadership and how much power is in the hands of these companies. In particularly, when you look at Facebook, how much power Mark Zuckerberg has. We've seen we've seen these companies, now kind of show some action, right? Show up and take down Trump's account. But frankly, it was too little, too late, and the storming of the Capitol happened on their watch.
So, on that note, I mean, here's the other question. Do you think they should have taken him off the platform sooner? Would the last year have been very different? And this is totally hypothetical, could we have avoided that insurrection at the Capitol? May it not have happened at all?
I think there's been so many warning bells throughout the year. Even when you saw last year during the Black Lives Matter protests, Trump tweet, "When the looting starts, the shooting starts." That in and of itself was glorifying violence. And I think the social media companies have taken the position that it's important that a world leader be able to express themselves, and then they flag and say, this isn't right information, et cetera. But what was really staged over the last few months was a disinformation campaign that then spread throughout social media. And so, I think the company should have acted sooner, because it's not just the companies that were threatened; it's fundamentals of our democracy. And I think they're in a tricky spot in the fact that it's the president.
Now, if you're just joining us, we're also watching live shots of the U.S. Senate starting to vote on the confirmation of Janet Yellen for Treasury Secretary. We're expecting this to happen with no problem. But of course, continuing to watch as that live vote happens on the Senate floor. We'll bring you updates as we have them. Natasha, speaking of, we're seeing President Biden's cabinet shape up. We're seeing new appointments when it comes to the acting chair of the FCC, the acting chair of the FTC. We're waiting for those posts to be officially filled. But given all of these issues that you see, what action would you like to see the Biden administration take on tech, especially social media companies?
Well, I think there's two actions I'd like to see. One, I'd like to see the companies themselves take the action of improving leadership. We've asked them to add human and civil rights experts to their boards so that they're actually, it's the leadership that's addressing these issues. And then, in terms of looking at Section 230, which is the rule that protects internet companies against legal liabilities for what's posted on their platforms, that needs to be addressed so that there's some level of accountability. And frankly, it's been a strikingly bipartisan idea that social media companies need reform. Of course, Trump and Biden have both called for Section 230 to be revoked with different motivations, but there's common ground that there should be some kind of common sense regulation. And so, it's not a simple question, right? There's this dichotomy that's set that, are these companies common carriers and anything flies, or are they publishers with editorial judgment? And, if you look at social media companies, they're akin to a bookstore, right? They don't have to carry everything. They're not common carriers, but they also don't need to put everything in their front window and treat everything the same. But when content that's promoting hate, when algorithms are giving that oxygen, in fact, that's editorial judgment. So it's going to take some real expertise and some grown-ups in the room to get this work done. And we just saw Biden, appoint a acting chair, Jessica Rosenworcel, who if named would actually be the first woman chair in the history of the SEC. But she said that she doesn't want any change to Section 230, that it wouldn't happen through the FCC. And so I think, in fact, it would happen through Congress. And we really need a bipartisan approach to this issue so that, our democracy isn't under attack again.